6 months after Evelyn Turner vanished from Hollow Hill, the mansion stood alone again, rotting quietly under the gray sky. The villagers called it cursed. No one dared to walk near it after sunset. Sometimes, when the fog rolled down the hill, they said they could still hear footsteps and faint screaming carried by the wind. The caretaker, Mr. Grayson, disappeared too. All that remained was silence and the heavy memory of those who never left. Lucas Carter didn't believe in ghosts. He was a documentary filmmaker who exposed haunted legends for fun and fame. When he read about the mysterious disappearance of Evelyn Turner and her final video ending in static, he saw a story that could make him famous. The House on Hollow Hill, the truth behind the fear, he called it. With him came Maya, his sound engineer, and Eric, the cameraman. Together, they arrived at dusk, their van groaning up the steep, broken road as the forest pressed in on both sides. The gate screeched as Lucas pushed it open. A foul smell rose from the wet ground. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows dark, its roof sagging like an old spine. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air felt heavier. Dust swirled like ash. "God, it stinks," Maya muttered, covering her nose. Lucas smiled. "That's history, Maya." But even as he joked, his flashlight flickered. Inside, the rooms were cold and silent. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like thin skin. They found furniture covered in white sheets and a long hallway lined with portraits. Lucas noticed one face, a woman with wide eyes, her features half faded, but her expression too real. The name on the brass plaque read, Evelyn Turner. They began setting up their gear, one camera in the living room, one upstairs, one pointed toward the main staircase. Eric checked the wiring. "Power's out," Lucas shrugged. "Perfect. That'll make the footage authentic," he smirked at Maya's glare. By 11:30 p.m., the sky outside had gone completely black. Rain lashed against the windows. The house moaned with every gust of wind. Maya stared at the thermal screen. "Lucas," she whispered. "Something's moving." He leaned in. On the monitor, a pale blue shape hovered behind him. Tall, motionless. He turned quickly. No one was there. The temperature on the screen dropped 5 degrees in 2 seconds. "Must be a glitch," Lucas said, his voice tight. But he knew it wasn't. A loud thud shook the ceiling. They all froze. The sound repeated, heavy footsteps pacing above them. "Is someone up there?" Maya whispered. Lucas grabbed the flashlight. "Let's find out." The stairs groaned under their feet. The hallway upstairs was colder, darker, the air thick with mold and the faint scent of metal. The door at the end, room 3, was open, though none of them remembered touching it. Inside, the walls were cracked, the floor warped. On the far wall, the same writing still glared back at them in brown, dried letters. "Don't listen to the whispers." Eric raised his camera. "Creepy as hell," he muttered. Lucas stepped closer. "Perfect shot." As he spoke, the recorder on the floor clicked. Everyone jumped. Lucas crouched and pressed play. Static filled the air, then a man's voice broke through, raspy, trembling.
The road to Hollow Hill twisted through miles of dark forest, where the trees leaned so close they almost touched the roof of Evelyn Turner's car. The sun was sinking fast, bleeding into the fog that rolled down from the hills. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel as her phone lost signal. The air smelled of rain and rust. When she finally reached the old gate, the sky was almost black. The mansion stood at the top of the hill like a dead thing, tall, gray, its windows staring blankly like eyes that had forgotten how to close. Evelyn pushed the gate open. It moaned like something alive. She had inherited the house from her uncle, a man she barely remembered, except for one strange memory. His trembling hand on her shoulder when she was 7, whispering, "Never go back to that hill after dark." But now she was 29, a journalist, practical, stubborn, broke. She didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in rent. The caretaker, Mr. Grayson, met her at the front door. A thin old man with pale eyes and a voice that sounded like dry leaves. "Didn't think anyone would ever come back here," he said quietly. Evelyn smiled, brushing past him. "It's just a house, Mr. Grayson." His lips twitched. "It was, once." Inside, the air was heavy, still. Dust floated in thin rays of dying light. The floor creaked under her boots. Every wall was lined with portraits, long dead faces that seemed to turn ever so slightly as she passed. Evelyn laughed nervously, pulling out her camera. She was here to spend 1 week and document her experience for an article. My week in a haunted house. It would get clicks, maybe even go viral. That night, the storm began. Wind howled through the trees, rattling the windows. Evelyn couldn't sleep. Around midnight, she heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps above her. Her pulse quickened. "Mr. Grayson?" she called, but the caretaker's room was empty. The sound moved across the ceiling, step by step, then stopped right above her bed. She froze. The silence after was louder than the storm. She told herself it was just old wood shifting. She didn't see the shadow standing behind her reflection in the window. The next morning, she found Mr. Grayson outside, chopping firewood. "Someone's upstairs," she said. He didn't look up. "No one goes up there, Miss Turner. Roof's collapsed, doors are locked." She frowned. "Then maybe you should check." He stopped, stared at her, and said quietly, "Some doors stay locked for a reason." That night, she couldn't resist. Curiosity burned louder than fear. Around 2 a.m., she crept upstairs with a flashlight. The air was cold and wet, the smell of mold thick in her throat. The corridor was long, lined with closed doors, each with brass numbers covered in grime. At the far end, one door was slightly open. Room 3. The beam of her flashlight flickered as she pushed the door open. Inside, the walls were covered with old wallpaper, torn and blistered. A single chair sat in the middle of the room. On the wall, written in faint brown letters, were words that made her skin crawl. "Don't listen to the whispers." Before she could react, she heard it, faint at first, like wind under the door. Then clearer, a whisper.